Hey, what's going on there, guys? Rev here, and today I'm bringing you a nice quick little video. It's going to be a Cataclysm Classic Destruction Warlock PvP guide. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, oh man, what the hell? Destruction Warlock in Cata PvP? What? This man's a joke! Yeah, well, listen, alright? Not everybody wants to be an AF player, and I know, like myself, there are several die-hard Destro only players, and maybe they don't know what the best glyphs would be, or maybe they don't know what the best talents would be. So I'm just gonna jump right into that. So right away, these are the glyphs that you want to play. I play Conflag, just reduces the cooldown of your Conflag by 2 seconds. Conflag is a lot of your damage anyway, so you're gonna want that glyph. Um, Immolate, because that just buffs your Conflag, right? 10% more periodic damage. And Glyph of Incinerate just because, I mean, the rest of your prime glyphs aren't really all that, honestly. Shadowburn glyph would be decent if it increased the chance to, crit below a certain health, but, it doesn't. So I just choose to run Incinerate instead. Those are the three prime glyphs that I'm running. For my major glyphs, I like to run Glyph of Soul Link, Glyph of Demonic Circle, and Glyph of Shadow Flame. So the Soul Link, it just increases the value of it by 5%. Basically, you take a little bit less damage from it. Um, Glyph of Demonic Circle, and I'm running this because of one of the bonuses on a piece of gear. I'll cover that in a little bit. And Shadow Flame because, the 70% move speed slow is just way too good. As for the minor glyphs, it doesn't really matter what you run unless, you know, you play AF, then you play Curse of Exhaustion. But besides that, it kind of doesn't really matter. The one that I think probably does matter is just the health funnel glyph because then you don't get any kickback from when you're channeling it and you take damage. So I'd say that's probably the only mandatory one of the lot, that you run for minor glyphs. But I mean, that's basically it for your glyphs. Now for talents, you have a few interchangeable ones here, but these are the primary ones that I run. You take the whole top row of Destro, Aftermath, of course, because you want the slow, Ember Storm because you want the Incinerate cast time reduction. Same with Soulfire. Some of you are going to be playing Succubus, some of you are going to be playing Battlegrounds, and Soulfire is just it's a fun ability. We all love it. Um, Improve Soulfire. So basically, this is a good one. It increases your fire and shadow damage done by 8% for 20 seconds after you deal damage with Soulfire. Now, you'll want to run this because you have Soulburn, and Soulburn in Cataclysm makes your Soulfire instant cast, so you can combo this with a lot of your other abilities, but I'll cover that stuff more later when I go over like how to do damage. Um, Shadowburn, Backdraft, of course. Soul H is really good, especially when you couple it with your Fell Armor. You know, causes you to be healed for 6% of any single target spell damage you deal. That's really good. Um, Backlash is always a must. You want Nether Ward because it changes your Shadow Ward, and it basically it makes it so it just absorbs spell damage, period, instead of just shadow damage. So it absorbs fire damage, arcane damage, frost damage, all that stuff. Nature damage too. So it's effective against rogues and their poisons. You want to take Nether Protection because um, it just reduces the damage you take by certain spell schools you get hit by while you have Netherward active by 30%, so that's a must. Shadow Fury, obviously, because you need that control, you need that stun. Fire and Brimstone, and of course, Chaos Bolt. Um, so those are all the Destro talents that you want to run. And over here, I run Demonic Embrace, extra 10% stam, Dark Arts. This increases your Fell Hunter's damage by a good little bit. It increases the Shadow Bite by 15%, which is already really good because when you look at the tooltip of Shadow Bite, it deals an additional 30% damage for each of your damage over time effects on the target. And most of the time, you're going to have 3. So it's like, an additional 90%? Yeah, Fell Hunter's huge. And then Fell Synergy, you have 100% chance to heal your pet for 15% of the amount of spell damage done by you. Basically, this just adds a little bit of tankiness to your pet, adds a little bit more survivability. It won't die as easily, if you're keeping your dots up and throwing damage out. It's a helpful set of talents. I like to run it. I find myself not having to heal my pet as often, so Fell Synergy is really good. And you're going to want Demonic Aegis. Um, this basically just improves the effects of your Demon Armor and Fell Armor. So without this, your Fell Armor heals you for only 3% of your single target spell damage, and your Demon Armor only increases the healing generated by 20%. So you're gonna want that because you're eventually going to run into a melee player, and you're gonna have a healer on you, and you're gonna want that demon armor on because it makes their healing on you more powerful. Um, the only other thing that I would consider taking, maybe you could swap out Fell Synergy for it, is Demonic Rebirth. I could see you running this more like in arenas because what this does when your pet dies, when you have this talent 2 of 2, it basically just makes your next demon summon instant cast, and the effect lasts for 10 seconds. So it's sort of like Feldom passively. So, you could make a good excuse to run that. So outside of that, yeah, that's talents, that's glyphs. Um, yeah, let me go over the gear really quick. So for the gearing in PvP, you're not going to have to do much PvE running in Season 9. In later seasons, yes, you will absolutely have to. But for Season 9, you can get away with doing pretty much a full set of PvP gear. The only pieces really that you're going to want that aren't PvP pieces are your trinket, the Dark Moon card, Volcano. This trinket is just absurdly overpowered. 1600 main stat. This is more main stat than any trinket or proc effect in the game will give you. This is huge. This is just an incredible trinket. On top of having the mastery, so you're already getting more damage out of it, this trinket is massive. Now, if you don't have um, a whole lot of gold to spend, this right here is also, a decent option just because it gives you a lot of haste. So it's not a bad option, but this is the primary best in slot trinket you're going to want to run. The only other item that's not a PvP item that you can use is the engineering goggles. These are just great. I like these. With these, you get 2 cogwheel sockets, and you can put a 208 haste gem and a 208 resilience gem, which, if you look at the stats on a lot of the gear, this is better than what you're going to get on a PvP piece, right? And these are just honor pieces. The conquest pieces aren't going to go up by a whole lot. So, I mean, this is a good item to wear, especially early on. I think this is just BIS all the way through the entire phase. So, yeah, I'd run this. Besides that, you can run pretty much all PvP gear, and that's pretty much it. Now there are a couple things. For the gloves, you're gonna want the main stat proc. You can get it from engineering. You just tinker it to your gloves. It increases your main stat by 480 for 10 seconds. You can on-use this with your Dark Moon card proc, and basically just up the amount of intellect you get. It'd be like, what, 20, almost 2100 main stat that you get? Yeah, huge bonus right there. Big damn. You're going to want tailoring at 500 for your light weave embroidery. This is it's another 480 spell power proc, well, intellect proc. So that's that. And then you're going to want the enchant from tailoring for your legs. It's 95 intellect and 80 stam. Just adds a little bit more tankiness. Outside of that, there's enchants that you can buy from the PvP vendor for your head and shoulders. The head one I think is like 1,000 honor, and the shoulder one is like 2,000. You can also buy them in Tol Barad for like, I think one is 40 and the other is 80. So that's basically that. Um, and of course, you're going to want the 40 Resil rating on your chest. Um, there's another enchant for your wrist that you're supposed to look for. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, but it's in my Season 9 BIS list that I created, which I will leave a link to down in the comment section. Well, the video description, but I guess I'll post it in the pinned comment too. But yeah, right now I'm just using the haste one because it's what I could find. And for your weapon, you're gonna want Power Torrent. But right now I'm just using Black Magic because it was just an affordable enchant and 250 haste proc. You know, it's still pretty good. Hurricane is good, but at the time when I enchanted my weapon, it was just too expensive, and I already dumped all my gold on the Dark Moon card, so kind of didn't have it. But yeah, you're gonna want Power Torrent as your main PvP enchant. Now, if you still want the 450 haste proc, go with the Hurricane weapon enchant. It's still really good. So outside of that, there's not a whole lot else to talk about on gear. Um, yeah. So I want to talk about how to do damage next. All right, so I'm over here at the training dummies. Let me show you guys a little bit how to do damage because in Cataclysm, destruction warlock damage and your way to kill is it's reliant on a lot of combination attacks, things that you can do. So you're obviously going to want to maintain Immolate and your Curse of Elements as much as possible. Corruption is good too. Agony is also really good. You can apply all of these at once, and that is just a huge buff to your Fell Hunter already. So the good thing about Backdraft now is it only affects your Shadow Bolt, Incinerate, and Chaos Bolt. So you no longer have that issue in Wrath where you may have to expend a Backdraft on like an Immolate or a Searing Pain, which by the way, you're not really going to be using much in Cataclysm. So this is just a basic little damage rotation right here, nothing special. The fancy stuff is when you get into stuff like, you know, just basic stuff like Chaos Bolt Conflag, big damn combo, alright? Incinerates, you can do an Incinerate with a Fell Flame. Fell Flame increases the duration of your Immolate, so you know it saves you a cast. Let's see, I'm going to do a Chaos Bolt, Soulburn, Soulfire, Conflag combo. That's a lot of damage. You can really hurt somebody with that, especially if they all crit. It's a lot better to like do that at range, so they sort of hit all together all at once. But I mean, yeah, there's just a bunch of little things you can do. You know, you can also get backlash procs, and you can use those as well. Like you can do a Chaos Bolt into a backlash. If you have a backlash and you have a Soulburn ready, you know, you can do a Chaos Bolt, Soulburn, Soulfire, and then you can use a backlash on top of it. There's just a whole lot of different combo things that you can do. And yeah, that's basically what you're going to be focused on a lot for dealing damage in Cataclysm as a Destro lock, because each individual ability by itself doesn't do like a supreme amount of damage, you know what I mean? So comboing these various different abilities really is the key to killing as a Destruction Warlock in PvP. Now, as far as pets go, in Cataclysm, I personally have a preference for Fell Hunter. I know you see me play Succubus a lot, but Fell Hunter in Cataclysm is just insane. I've gotten quite a few nasty hits out of Fell Hunter because it's crazily juiced up from your Shadow Bite passive and this talent right here, Dark Arts. It's just Fell Hunter is beefy in Cataclysm. I've seen some pretty nasty bite crits too. I think I hit one the other day for like 23k. I was like, oh my god, dude, insane. Now, if you're dueling and you're fighting like multiple melees, maybe you're in some battlegrounds, you know, Succubus is still good too. You have the Whiplash knock that Succubus has. You can get creative with that. You can, like, let's say a rogue opens on you, you can Whiplash knock him away. That sort of like messes up his opener, it gets him off you a second, and you can use a seduce, you know, right off the knock. That way he gets seduced about the time he reconnects to you. You know, there's a lot of different nice little plays that you can do with your Succubus. And I think for most general 1v1s, it's probably the better pet. Um, But I personally I prefer having a Fell Hunter in Cataclysm. Now, one thing that I do want to make note of that some players just aren't aware of, a lot of players are aware of it, but most people didn't realize, in Cataclysm, you can no longer purge yourself with Fell Hunter. So, let's say, like in Wrath, when a Death Knight uses his silence on you, his strangulate, you could purge yourself with Fell Hunter, get that silence off of you, and keep on going. You could purge Hodge, you could purge Fears, Sheeps, that sort of stuff. You could purge yourself. In Cataclysm, you cannot do that anymore. You have to run your Imp if you want to do a self-dispel. So, yeah, keep that in mind when you're fighting things like Rit and they go to Hodge you and you try to purge yourself and you're like, wait a minute, why is it not working? So yeah, on the bright side, you can trinket silences in Cataclysm, so there is a plus to that. I hate having to burn trinket on a silence, but it is what it is. Anyways, that concludes my Destruction Warlock guide for Cataclysm. If I missed anything or if there's any other questions you have, feel free to ask down in the comments and I will answer to the best of my ability. And now, before I go, it's not really a Rev video without a little bit of PvP action. Now is it? Here you go, guys. I'm going to include just a few little clips right here at the end of the video, give you, sort of an idea of how Destro plays in PvP and how you can play it, I guess. So enjoy those. Let me know what you think. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask down in the comments. Thank you all and have fun.
Here we go!